The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and wait just a minute longer to see if we can have a couple more people join, but we'll be starting the webinar momentarily. Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, What's Your Next Move to Modern with Production Management? We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to join us. I just have a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to mention before we begin the presentation. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please either raise your hand so that we can unmute you, or you can submit it through the GoToWebinar question box. We'll be answering questions throughout the presentation, and we'll also be following up after the presentation to answer any additional questions. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce today's speaker. We have Todd Waterman, who is a NAV Solutions Architect. He has more than 15 years of experience as a subject matter expert in technology and business software consulting, and has an extensive background in horticultural and agricultural fields and the technologies and solutions specific to the industry. His experience in both teaching and technology gives him great insight into continuous improvement. So at this point, Todd, I believe we're ready to go ahead and transition the presentation over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Rebecca. Well, hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining today. I realize how busy it is right now, depending, I know some of the liner guys have slowed down, but I know everybody's really, really busy, so I appreciate you taking the time, and you know, we will get this done in under an hour, so I appreciate you. So with that, I just want to go over the agenda of really what I'm going to go over today. Some of you may have seen some of my past webinars, and some of you may have not, but each time I try to do a little bit different product. This is something I really haven't done in a webinar before, and this is really around crops from stock cuttings, your own stock cuttings. So really the example I'm going to go through today is a crop hydrangea, and these are actually, I'm going to be growing hydrangea liners, but when you really look at the process that I'm going to go through, it really will work for any of these really long crops like trees, shrubs, perennials, things that are a little bit tougher to plan. One, because they have such a long hold time. Like for instance, the hydrangea shrubs I'm going to grow today have pretty much an endless hold time, meaning they can take cuttings off the trays, they can keep cutting them back, but you know, you can hold them for at least a year or until they get root bound enough to where you dump them. But it's a lot different than an annual or something like a petunia or something that has 2 or 3 week hold time. And so really, I'm going to go after an example that really you produce all of your own cuttings, so you buy nothing in. And so this is something, like I said, these are hydrangea mother stock plants that are in the field, but we can also take cuttings off of old gallons, take cuttings off of trays. And so you provide all of your inputs. So the only thing the problem that comes with that is all those outside plants and things, you don't really know what the weather's going to be like next year when you need to grow these, or actually you're going to be starting growing now for next year. And actually, like many shrubs and perennials, these actually go dormant in the winter. So we're going to grow some now, but everything we're going to do is all to build up for next year. So something else is inconsistent yield. And the way I say that is because of the fact that when you have your own stock plants, especially if they're outside or bare root that's in the ground, what have you, you have no idea what the weather is going to be like next year. So how do you plan what you're going to have available when you don't even know what cuttings you're going to have available to plant? So I'm going to show you a way that we can do that. That does make it difficult to plan, and planning like I've done in the past, like when you're doing petunias or something and you know that your input, whether you're getting rooted cuttings, whether you're using seeds, you know that it's a consistent input source. So it's very easy to plan and to use what I've shown before called backward planning. And that means I actually put the numbers in of the week that I want this plant to be for sale. The system goes back and tells me when I have to plant it. But in the example today, these take about 12 weeks. So even though we're going to grow something starting today and it may be done in July, we're still going to hold it until next year in 2019 to sell it. Okay? So a couple things we're going to do today as far as forward planning from a purchase order, and that's how we're going to do this. Rather than starting from what we want to finish with, we're going totally the opposite direction and going to let the stock plants dictate what the plan actually is. Okay? And then I'm going to show Power BI and how Power BI can help us watch what our goal is of what we want to produce and how we can watch that along the way. Okay? So with that, I'm going to back out of here and jump into the system here. Anybody want to read my email? All right, sorry, I had too many things open here. Okay. So if you haven't seen the system before, this is it. I think most of you have at least seen a little bit of it. So a couple things that I've never shown before is right up here you see production forecasts, and then also there's a sales forecast. To explain what those are is what I've shown before is from the production plan. I'll just open that up real quick. And this is when we're actually putting the numbers in here and creating a production plan that we know we're going to do. But like I said, if we want 1 million hydrangea liners to be done for week 15 next year, we don't plant them all next year, we start planting now. Because right now, actually, it would probably be a couple months ago, once the mother stock actually starts producing. So again, these are outside, so you depend on the weather. So even if you use the planning and say, okay, we're going to start on week 27 or what have you, how do you know you're going to even have those? So that makes it's really like almost like a fake plan. You know, you put that out there, but it's never going to work out that way. Then you spend all your time trying to move the jobs or split the jobs and everything because of what you planned way ahead of time. It's not going to work out that way. So in this example, what we're going to do is we're going to use the forecast. And let me go ahead and open that up. I already made one right now for example today. And so this is basically the same idea as the production planning. But so what I've done is I've just named this Hydrangea Forecast 2019. Planning group, we've gone over that before, and that's the same way in the production planning. That's just a group I created called Hydrangea, and it has these products in that group. So this could be any group you want, or it could be every variety you grow, what have you. But so what this does is it allows you to put forecast numbers in and see what your total cost and things are, like we do in the other production planning, but in the production planning, it actually creates the production jobs. And this does not. This is more of a forecast for you to compare to. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create this 2019 forecast. And so what we want is this next set. We're going to say we want 1 million. Let me just widen this up here. We want 1 million total. And what I'm going to do is, I haven't shown this before, but it's pretty slick. I don't know if you plan this way, but some people want to do it in percentages. So what I'm going to do is switch to percentages. And I'm going to go ahead and put what percentage of the million total for the genus I want each of these. So I want 40% to be that limelight hydrangea 2 1/4. And then we're going to do 10%. And watch as I put that in, you can see right here the quantity that it's calculating for you. We'll just do 10% of this one. 20%, 10, and 10. So if I would have put 20 there, it would have turned red and not allowed me to do that. But so you can see, I want 1 million total, and here's the percentages, and here's what the total quantities are. Now, one of the other things that this tool does is you can create different scenarios. Like I could actually copy this scenario, or I can duplicate it and create another one, and maybe do different percentages or different grow times, what have you. And it allows you to compare the two or see what the costs are different. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because we're not going to really do any comparison of forecasts today. But so with this one, we have our million, we got it split up. Now you can also copy this to, once you know that this is something that you want to do, this is kind of your sandbox to play around in here, you can copy it to that production plan like we've seen before. So you don't have to look in here, plan in here, and then go enter it inside a production plan once you want to move forward. We can actually just copy it right to there. And another thing you can do is a lot of times you want to see what the sales forecast was. The sales department always puts in, or tells production what they want to sell per week or per month or what have you. Production usually looks at that and kind of brings them back to reality and then changes the numbers to what's really possible, and in a lot of cases, or at least where I came from. So I can also import from a sales forecast. So your sales team could go into a screen very much like this. I won't show that at this point, but I did show you the tool. And then they can put in what their sales forecast is. Production can forward or import it from there into here as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to release this, and we'll see what happens here. So if you've seen any of my other webinars, the neat part about creating these production plans is it would create the production jobs, and then you're able to see how much labor, how much space, how much cost in those things. And this is the newer tool in the system that really does that for you, but we have not created any production jobs at this point, but it still calculates. You can see what the costs are here. So let's go ahead and click on one of these. And now I can come in here and see all the different activities that happen. Like if I filter to the sticking, we can see that's 80 hours of sticking. We need 400,000 cuttings. I don't have a price because we're cutting. Of course, it has a cost, but we own all the stock plants, so it's not something I'm purchasing, but we need 400,000 of them. We need 12,532 cell trays. We need 250 cubic feet of soil, and so on. So we've seen that in the system before, that type of thing, but this tool allows you to look at all that. Excuse me, pardon me. So one interesting thing is you can see on week 15 next year, we want 1 million liners available. Now we know that these have hold weeks of, I put like 365 days. So what's going to happen is once we have these million here, that's going to carry over the whole next year or more as far as how long or how many weeks you have product, because it's all going to really come from this million that's finished here, but it's going to span across all the weeks, selling off that same million number. Okay, so, but you know that these only take 12 weeks. So obviously if I was using the standard production planning, it's going to go back 12 weeks from week 15 in 19 and say to plant it then. But we can't plant it then, it's too cold. So we're not even planting, okay? So here's our forecast. So we got that going. So now what we're gonna do is imagine that we don't know really obviously we don't know how many cuttings we're gonna get off these plants because we don't know what the weather's gonna be like and things like that. But what we do know is once we cut the plants, we know how many how many cuttings we have. So I'm going to show you the spreadsheet here. This is my little sheet here of, think of this as the stock cutting department, this is a spreadsheet of them saying how many cuttings they got for each one of these products. So what they're saying is they've cut 12,000 of these. So this is different because this isn't a planning or a forecast. We know we have these in hand. We've already cut them, okay? So in this case, they're using a spreadsheet to enter in what they've cut of each product. what the order date field here is this is actually, I'm actually going to change that to 5/30/2018, because that's today. Okay. So, but that order date is really when the production order is going to be scheduled to plant. I could have a different date on each of those, and you could actually schedule when these different stickings are going to happen using that date. And I'm also going to be using this location code. Okay. So what we're going to do is, which sounds kind of odd, but we're going to start with a purchase order. And what I'm going to do is, I'm actually not purchasing this actually because there's no price, but I am going to use myself. This is my company XYZ Growers, and this is my stock department who I'm really ordering this from. Okay. Now I could just enter in the items like so. I could enter each of these by hand, but I won't, because if you've seen any of my other demos, we can just paste this product in there. So this could be 500 different items. Doesn't matter how many it is. I'm going to select all this, copy it. Where's my PO? There it is. Now we're just going to paste it in there. So you can see how quickly, if it doesn't matter who actually creates the PO, it could be the stock department, it could be that the stock department hands off their spreadsheet of what they've cut to a production manager and they create the POs, that's up to you. But you can see here that what I have here is these Limelight 2 1/4, 4-inch, a quick turn hydrangea, and then 3 other 2 1/4 varieties. And these are the numbers of the crops. Okay, let's bump these up just to make it more interesting. I don't know whether you'd be able to get this amount of cuttings in one cut, but just for fun, we're going to do it. Okay. One thing to notice here is this checkbox. It says production order. So what the system does is it actually creates production orders for these right from this PO. And you can see right here, you got this job number and lot number is blank. But so we've got this imported or pasted in here, and now I'm going to receive it just like a PO. Okay. So what this is going to do is, one, it's going to add these URCs to the inventory, but it's also going to create jobs. Okay, so I'm going to receive this. Okay. So what you can see is, look, there's a separate job number for each one of these lines. So it just created 6 different jobs. You can also see that these two, in this, for whatever reason, in these 2 sizes, I'm also lot tracking, so it automatically assigned them a lot number. You could also use your own lot number system. Really the way the cut and paste works is, as long as your spreadsheet's in the order of these columns, so I could change the order or move that lot number, and that spreadsheet could also contain what the lot number is. You may want to have a lot number per stock plant, who knows, but you can do all of that. Okay, so in this example, these are the only 2 that are actually lot tracked. But we can even go look and see what this has done. I can click here and go, let's go take a look at a job here. So you can see we're going to start on today's date, and that's because of that job date. Like I said, in that purchase order, I could have put several different dates to do the actual plan of the days it's going to be planted. Right now, I just left it all as today's date. And so we've gone over this before, but this is the actual job, and there's a propagation phase for 4 weeks, and then it gets moved and finishes for 5 weeks. And this gives us all our information of everything that's needed for this job, everything from inputs to labor to machines to crop treatments, what have you. going to go ahead and back out of that. But so now we have these 6 jobs. I'm going to go ahead and get out of our purchase order there. Okay. Now that we have some jobs, let's go look. And interesting, they actually create the jobs already in release status, because if you're doing it from a PO, you're basically saying, hey, I have these cuttings and we are planting this amount. Okay, so it doesn't even post the jobs as planned. It already has them in the release status. So there's all the jobs that we created. And I'm actually going to go to my production control here. Okay, and there's I have it on week 22, which is this week, so it's pulling in all the different activities. Obviously, there's nothing else in here. I wanted to keep it pretty clean, but this would have all the different activities that need to be done. And here's my 6 sticking jobs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these and say create work orders. So it just created a work order for each one of those. I'm also going to assign this to, oh, there's only one production manager, and that's me. And so now this created an assignment for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the rest of these work orders to that assignment. Now you can see everyone has the same assignment number, and I have shown this a couple times before, but you can imagine that if you have 50 different crops, pardon me, 50 different crops to stick, you don't want to go inside of 50 different work orders to actually register what you planted. So that's a good reason to use assignments, many others as well. But so I'm going to go ahead and go out of here. I'm going to go up to my assignments. And here's the assignment. So the assignment is date 5/30. It's assigned to me. The planned quantity is 181,000. And it's saying that should take us 36.2 hours because we do about 5,000 plants an hour. So this could end up taking us all week, but we can continue to work on this assignment. And let me go ahead and go in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Each line that you finish, you can mark as complete. So it really does save the date that that was stuck. So, you know, you may work on this assignment for a week or 2, but as each line gets finished, you mark it complete and the system does save the date, so you're going to know actually when that's planted. But so really each one of these you can see is a work order. Those are all those work orders that I added to this assignment. And what this allows us to do is just go down and put the numbers in of what we actually stuck. So we know that we have 50,000 cuttings, but that doesn't necessarily mean once they unbundle them and go through them that all of them are perfect and ready to plant. So out of those 50,000, actually, we only, let's say 49,050. Or, okay, 49,500, that's fine. Okay, this one, all the cuttings were fine. We'll say this one was pretty bad. So this was only 18,000. We're really able to be stuck out of the 22 we cut. This one will say 40,000. This one, all of them are great, all 30,000, which is probably rare, but in this case it was. And this one really 23,000 were good. So you can already tell we're going to have a loss percentage here from these cuts. Okay, so now, obviously we wouldn't be able to plant all those that fast, but today we did. Just to point out too, you can see the different labor hours that it has in here of what the system's predicting each work order should take. But again, we finished them all very quick today. I'm gonna say that this is complete. And now I'm got my manager hat on to come at the end of the day and say, okay, this is approved. Again, you would do this all with all jobs, maybe at the end of the week or end of the day or what have you, but now I'm gonna also post. And what this is doing is it's posting all 6 of those work orders. So you can see how much time that saves rather than me going into each one of them. So now let's go look here. Here's our hydrangea jobs. Oops, getting click happy here. Hold on a second. Okay, so here's the jobs we have in production. And look, we can see on each one of these, we can already see that the production quantity, or what we had planned to do, was 50,000, but we really only planted 49,500. 12,000 here, well, we actually planted 12,000, but you can always see right away the difference of the production quantity, or what you had planned, to the actual. You know, in a few weeks, when there's another work order, when you're going to move those plants out of propagation, they count them again, maybe there's less. So each time you register these work orders, depending on the activity, you're going to keep updating exactly what the actual quantity is. And then that's also so you can track your loss percentage and things like that. But something that's really missing from here right now is our forecast number, right? We know that we want to get to 1 million total, but I can't remember exactly what each percentage is of these different items. But you want to be able to continue to build and plant, but also be able to watch of how close you are to what the forecast is. And also how many sales orders are coming in for this, okay? Let's just jump up and look at our forecast again here. There it is. Okay, so there's our quantities. And so I just wanted to take a look at this one more time, and then what we're going to do is we're going to jump into Power BI. So for those of you who have not seen Power BI before, it is a Microsoft product. It's included in the Office 365 suite. It is a free tool to use, and this is actually the tool that I built this little dashboard here for this webinar. It took me about 15 minutes. There is a built-in reporting database in the system that you run a little wizard and it creates a separate database. And so everything that I'm showing you and all the information that we have here is really already coming from the system, and it's already canned, so to speak, for you to use this tool and create these type of things. It really is, there's not much to it. It's actually fun to do, but it is completely integrated with the NAV system. And with each version, they bring all of these Office products closer and closer in with the ERP system, and Microsoft's plan is to really make them one at some point. And I don't know if that's 5 years away or 10 years away, but that it really is the roadmap. So you can see right here, we don't really have much information on here. We do, though, if you go across this legend at the top, there's no green lines, but that's going to show our forecast quantity. The blacks, what we're actually produced so far. These red lines, it already is showing sales orders in there. So each one of those red lines, and also you can see the numbers, like if I click on one of these here, you can see that it's showing the item, and there's 42,000 on sales orders currently right now. But what I'm going to do is, this would normally happen in the background. You set how often you want this report to update, but I am going to just do it manually today. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit refresh here. Takes just a second. There's a lot of different data sources in here, but again, this would be happening in the background. You could schedule it every 5 minutes, every minute, or however often you want to do it. Okay, let's see if it makes a liar out of me. Ooh, there it is. Okay, so let's take another look at this. Now we have our forecast quantity, which here we know it's 400,000 for that size, okay? We can see here that we planted our 49,500. And then in the red line, we can also see there's 60,000 already on sales orders currently. And then you can see that for each product. So what this does is allow you to really have that plan have that goal, right? But you can do this forward planning where you really don't have numbers out there yet. You just have a goal, and you can book numbers against your book orders against the forecasted numbers. So you can continue to have sales orders come in, but the production team, general manager, whoever, I'm sure would really like to be looking at this information. And remember that this Power BI works on your phone, on your anywhere, tablet, any device. All of the reports are completely functional and formatted for the screen that you're on. So you can be anywhere and take a look at this and not even enter the system. So if I click on any one of these, changes these numbers. Our forecast quantity is 400,000. We have 351,000 remaining. And we can see there's one job. And this is really important too. Look at, I planned 50,000, but it's already telling me our production quantity is 49,500. Now I failed to do this, but it would be very quick to do a calculation to say what the loss percentage, and I would add another column right there. And it also says that the start date was scheduled to start on 5:30. But see, I also captured the posting date. What if a manager or something is looking at this and seeing that this got planted 3 weeks after it was supposed to? You would be able to conditional format that and see those things right in front of you. So that's why I keep those. And then we also have the finish date. So I can already think of many other types of information that would be helpful to be in here, which all of it, like I said, is all really canned. I can even show you. Every single one of these is full of different fields. That is all ready for you to just click on to add to these different visuals. So it's, you don't have to be a programmer. You don't got to know anything about this really, with just a little bit of training. And I encourage you to even go onto YouTube and search how to in Power BI, and there's millions of videos on there to show you how to do this. The most difficult part is really creating the data sets of the information, which, like I said, that is already built in and already pre-created for you in the system. So you can really hit the ground running. Let's take a look at this one. 200,000, we got 160K left. So like I said, this took me about 15 minutes. And you know that with all of our other, when we're scheduling backwards, and we're going to grow petunias and we're putting them, you know, every other week we're growing more, it's very easy to be able to look in the system and see things like where you're at as far as planned and actual. So this is totally different than that, meaning that this is this wishful number of 1 million we have out there that we're trying to hit. I mean, orders for plants like this come in a year or so in advance. Obviously, these are orders for next year that are already coming in, right? But you don't know if you're going to have 1 million. So you really do, because then you're going to have to call customers that have already booked. I mean, this happens every year, I'm sure, you know, dealing with a live product, but at least you can come in here and on a minute-by-minute basis see how you're doing and where you're at as far as your goal. And you can easily see all of this. You know, there is places in the system to look at some of this information, and maybe it's in 3 different places where the Power BI allows you to grab information from all over, maybe not even from the actual nav database. You may have other spreadsheets, another environment system, any of that. All of that can be connected and all brought together in one report. And then you actually make dashboards out of these different reports. Totally self-service. Okay. All right. So with that, let's just for fun see what we got here. Oh, I'm trying to get to my sales orders. Come on. We're choking. Actually, let's go here. Sorry. Let's go look at our hydrangeas. So I can already see just in my regular plant list how many quantity are on sales orders of these different products. So what I want to do is I want to just go into one of these orders. I think they're all in the same one. I'll drill into the order from here. Okay. Let's up one of these numbers to 60,000. Okay. It's already telling us there's no inventory, but we know this because this is for next year. Okay. And notice that we can see we do have some quantity on hand already. On hand means it's finished and it's actually sellable. Then we can also see how many quantity we have on sales orders. We can see how much we've released on jobs, right? So I think a lot of the information that you have right here is really similar to what I have on that report, but the visuals obviously work much better. It's much more visual. It's easier to look at. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go back in here, and I'm just going to update the sales lines here. But let's see if I refresh this, if our new number shows up. There it is, 60,000. So you could say that this is totally live. Like I said, you could have an update every minute. You do have to have an update interval. But once you plug that in, I think I have the reporting database update every minute inside the system. But just while I'm in here, just a couple more things to show how simple this is. If I wanted to change any of these visuals, really these are this little square right here is the only are the visuals you have to choose from. I could click on it and say, oh, now it's going to be a line chart. Different kind of bar chart. All displaying the same information, but you can see I'm not doing any kind of programming or anything as I'm choosing these different types of bar charts, or lots of different ways to display them, and different information looks better than others for different situations. But you can see as I click around here, it is not difficult to use this product. And like I said, it's actually fun. So what's best about it is it doesn't have to be only your IT department or us. We have a whole business intelligence practice. So we do this all day long, but the beauty is once you have a couple reports and can see how it works, it's something that you can do on your own. And for me, I spent 15 years with a pretty proprietary system that I spent a lot of my time writing reports. Didn't have a tool like this. So as I said, again, all of these different data sources here are already in the system, ready to connect here. And so there's no setup necessary. Now you may have other things possibly that aren't in here that are important to you, and they're very easy to add other fields and other information, but I think it's pretty powerful that it already comes with a working reporting database for Power BI to connect to, so you can hit the ground running from day one. Okay. Okay. So that's about all I have to show. So just to kind of recap of really what the situation forward planning is used for is, just like we did these liners, this could be trees, this could be bare root perennials, any product that you really don't know exactly how much stock you're going to have. So the beauty of this system is you could have maybe 3 products that you do like this, and the rest of them you use backward planning and you use standard. So really this has a flavor for any type of product, and so you don't have to choose one process. There could be a different process per individual variety if you want. And also remember that we now have this forecasting tool, so that allows us to put these goal numbers in, and so you can really book against those numbers as you build them, and also watch your progress using something like Power BI. And also we have our sales forecast, which is very much the same. I can remember that we always had our sales forecast on spreadsheets and knew what sales was trying to sell or what they've committed to selling, but you couldn't even look on the same sheet of what actually was available those weeks. And so we don't, maybe production didn't even plant enough product for sales to even hit their number. So I really love the fact that they have this built in here where you can put your sales forecast. You could have a sales forecast, a production forecast too, or create a sales forecast that goes as a production forecast and then eventually a production plan and so on. So there's lots of options here, but then you're able to look at all that information in one place, because what's the goal here? You want to be able to react. You can have all these fancy reports and look at all these things, but what's it going to do for you if you don't have time to react, to either plant more, to contact your customer possibly because you can foresee there's going to be a problem because of your loss percentage possibly, and not wait until it comes down to shipping saying we don't have enough of those or something like that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Rebecca. I'm ending just a little bit early, going to give you some time back. I actually have to run to the airport, but I think we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions.
Thanks, Todd. So if you go ahead and put the PowerPoint presentation back up, we'll have Todd's contact information on there. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Todd or Melissa. And if you have any questions now, feel free to raise your hand and I'll unmute you, or you can put the question in the question box. There's no questions as of now, so feel free to put those in, but I do want to thank everyone for attending the webinar, and I hope that you have a great day.
And if any of you have any questions, maybe about different crops or anything about the system, absolutely email me. I love to talk about this stuff, obviously, so thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time. No questions coming in, Rebecca?
Nope, doesn't look like we have any questions. So you can go ahead and hop up. Good luck getting to the airport, and we'll see everyone next time.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.